right, hello. Welcome to the Rapid Regeneration podcast. And today we're very, very honored to have a very special guest. I'm Dave Escamilla. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not making any medical claims or claims about diseases. And neither is my guest. We're two people on the natural side of things. You probably know Dr. Robert Morse for being a naturopath, for being a biochemist, for having some of the best quality herbs, for running one of the biggest healing centers, and also for having a school, one of the top schools for getting certified in natural healing. So, or you've been living under a rock, or you haven't heard of Dr. Robert Morse because he was deleted and censored off the internet because he was too powerful and too dangerous to the status quo. So, Dr. Robert Morse, we're so honored to talk with you this morning.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. I hope I can live up to you. But yeah, it's an interesting world that our physical bodies are on right now. This rock spinning through space, and truth is a real tough nut to crack for a lot of humans. For some reason, the conditioned mind and the lack of spiritual development in a lot of beings here blocks them from understanding truth and keeps them on the karmatic suffering wheel. And so all of you guys that are waking up, you're the spiritual ones. You're the higher beings that are brought to the planet to help it, or you wouldn't even pay one bit of attention to this. So those that want to help themselves, those that want to make it better for themselves, those are all the higher beings. You look at the planet, what's going on, you can really see the different levels of consciousness or understanding within the human race. And it's never been seen like that before. It's so exposed now that we got people like William Shatner going, they're among us. Why don't they just make themselves known and stop all this craziness, stuff like that.
So is that like a comfort zone that people are in where they don't it's more convenient or it's more comfortable not to embrace some of this truth?
Well, I would think that's certainly part of it. Of course, you get in your comfort zones, but at the same time, it also represents your level of or lack of spirituality. In other words, care for the self. Most people's attention is outwardly focused. So the female is probably the more inner focused of the two male and females. But males typically don't listen inside. I found myself at Home Depot before. I didn't even comb my hair in the morning. I just, go, 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 go. So typically humans are outer focused. And so when you're starting to focus inwardly, starting to listen inwardly, starting to look inwardly, there's worlds upon worlds upon worlds. They used an old saying, you have to go in to get out.
Okay. So do you think that for someone who is maybe not, they're resisting some of this truth, or they're, like you're saying, it's tough enough for them to crack. Do you think that they have like a little voice inside of them that's calling and saying, hey, here's some truth over here, but what are they doing? What are they experiencing when they do they hear something like that and they just ignore it? Or
some are just not at the level of maturation for this. You have to understand that. I hate to even say it's like a school, because the all has created the all. So there's nothing to learn, but yet there's everything to learn. When you realize everything is the one, and that consciousness is not dualistic, and that creation is dualistic, for what purpose? Why is form so important to consciousness? And that you would have to be into that state to understand that. But it's like the playground of God, the creation where we have forms, and forms interact with each other and eat each other and whatever, that's creation. That's duality. And you have the positive and the negative. And there seems to be a growth pattern in consciousness for those people. The little voice within is you. There is no higher self. You are your higher self, but you play that role of duality where you're in the little self, you're in the little physical body looking up to God. And I've always said, turn it around. turn this whole consciousness around, be conscious, and then work with the little self. In other words, work from God's state down into the lower worlds, instead of being the little self looking, oh, I must have a higher self and I'm just a little being that can't do anything. Switch your consciousness around and you'll find that you are the being from all things. You and everything else come from the same source, and you're just playing with these little bodies. You know that old saying, am I a spiritual being having a physical experience, or am I a physical being having a spiritual experience? And of course, you're a spiritual being having a physical experience. That's all it is. And then when you lay that physical body aside, who are you now? And then when you lay that body aside, who are you now? So it's learning. That's the other fun part of this whole journey, is not just fruit and getting healthy and having energy that you can't stop, and, not having any pain and healing the next day and all kinds of great stuff like that. But also the journey that you can go on that's far beyond this world and into the allness of all things. That's where things really kick up for you.
Wow, there's so many things I want to ask about spirituality, but I think it would be helpful for people to understand, and I want you to know, Dr. Morse, how I came across you, and I just want people to know that I'm 35 now. When I was 22 years old, I got so sick because my friend and I we got high off of cough medicine, so we overdosed off of cough syrup, and the next day I felt like I've been run over by a train, and for 4 years I had the horrible exhaustion, brain fog. I couldn't think straight, headaches. I thought I was brain damaged, and I was,
Wow.
every day was a nightmare, and basically, I discovered some information. Started to do some natural healing, and I did a liver cleanse from Dr. Ed Group. Have you ever heard of? Anyways, he said something. He said, "Well, when you do this cleanse, you might experience a healing crisis." and sure enough, I did, and I searched healing crisis, and that's when I found your video, and you start talking about the healing crisis, and from that point, you helped me so much, or rather, the information you were channeling helped me so much, and ultimately I completely recovered. All my symptoms went away, and I've now been on that lifestyle for about 9 years, and it's been amazing. So I'm so grateful to you personally, Dr. Robert Morse, and thank you for that.
You did it. This is just information. I've been sitting behind the desk healing people I've been 53 years in herbology and 50 years as a naturopath. And so I've been sitting and dealing with people's health for years. But had I not went out into the woods and become fruitarian, and a mono-fruitarian at that, I would not have known what about health really at all. I was thinking that's just the natural food of man. Why is man eating all this crap? When you really look at it and then you research it, you realize, of course, man's fruitarian, and so's primates. And so man just can't get with that understanding yet. I mean, it's like I bring that Yale study out that the brain converts glucose into fructose. Well, wow, that's why we see nerve regeneration eating fruit. Holy crap. And so all of this is just coming together to explain why we're so successful at regenerating the human body on fruit. And it's just amazing to see. And of course, living in the woods, I discovered the lymphatic system, what it really is. And that's the big boy, because without understanding your lymphatic system and what it really is, you're living in the world, what you said earlier, diseases. And if you live in the world of diseases, you'll never be happy. You'll never find a cure because they don't exist. It's a fallacy. It's an illusionary concept. As a matter of fact, it's 17th century concepts. Even the germ theory goes back to the 18th century. And it's like, really? You guys have little understanding of how the body gets rid of its cellular waste. Everything has a kitchen and bathroom to it. Nature, every houses, everything. And so it's just that understanding is vital to help everyone understand why you have tumors, why you have cancer cells, why you have what you have, why you have inflammatory responses, why you see what you see. Because there's only two sides of chemistry, and that's the joke of it all.
So this 17th century concept that is now the mainstream. What is that? What is that concept?
That concept says that basically nothing you do creates diseases. It's from an external stimuli. And then link that with the germ theory, and then you can blame any microbe or any parasite for your problems. And then, of course, the main, since they don't understand the whole thing, then they use the autoimmune concept. And that's filtered over into the natural health field too. And so then you have practitioners going, oh, it's your immune system. Really, what is your immune system? Do you even know? And that's the problem. When you say immunity, most medical doctors have not the first clue of what you're talking about. If you ask them, where's your immune system at? How do you get to it? Where is it? You know, it's lack of understanding of how the human form works. And it's real simplistic. Well, but on the other hand, physiology, there's so many questions. They don't know. The body produces hormones and steroids they don't even know yet. They know they produce them, but they don't know what they are. So when we think that the medical community knows all that there is to know about health in the human body, think again.
Okay, and it basically it removes responsibility of the individual, right? Because they're saying it's totally outside of you. This is happening to you, and then you give up all your control basically at that point.
Totally. You hit it right on the head. You give up control. You'll have them juice you with 1.5 chemo. So that's 1.5. That's hot. That's 10 to 15 times hotter than the acid that actually damaged the cell. So about 3 pH is the damage which you can convert a healthy cell to a cancer cell. And chemotherapy is of 1.5 to 2. And these are logarithms. So chemo is about 15 to 20% hotter than the actual acid that damaged the cell. And then when you look at blood, chemotherapy is 500 to 1 million times more acidic than your blood. That's incomprehensible. Who would allow someone to do that, to put an acid in your alkaline system like that? And that's the insanity of it. And then they use it under the guise that, well, of course, no one can cure cancer. This is just, we're trying to save your life and all this stuff. And that's all lie on top of lie. Almost everybody that comes to this level of work gets cancer, what they call cancer, gets free of that because they understand why cells are being damaged in the body, what's doing it. And just like you did, you reversed it and fixed it.
I mean, and it wasn't, we're not saying it's easy. I mean, it wasn't easy. It took years. It took me almost 4 years to reverse everything. And when
the hardest part is going to be your self-discipline. Because as soon as you understand you've got a tumor, a problem, you have no energy, all the things you discuss, you should put yourself on a grape diet. A grape diet or just fruits, berries, and melons, and that's it. Don't get into the vegetable kingdom. They require too much energy for your body to break them down. The homo sapien needs that neurological energy of fruit. And I showed you on the toe on the drmorse.tv of how he regenerated a whole toe just on fruit. Bone, connective tissue, nail, everything. And it was just a piece of skin. And we did that just on fruit and, of course, the botanicals. So when person doesn't realize the power of the fruit, and now they're starting to. Our whole group, your group, is curing themselves of everything. You're working, did that to yourself. We have people, matter of fact, I'm reading a case here on a video after a bit on a young lad that they wanted to remove his kidney and bladders because they were full of tumors. And they said, we can't even do chemo on you. And the young guy says, wait a minute, I can't lose my kidney and one of my kidneys and bladder. And I said, well, you have no choice. And he found one of our graduates and she took him on and no more tumors in kidney or bladder. That's the power of understanding what the two sides of chemistry, the lymphatic system of your body and what it's for, and the kidney connection to that and the importance of all of that. And that, if you took anything away from us, that'll help save your life.
Oh my God. I want to follow up on that. We're talking with Dr. Robert Morse from drmorse.tv. That's where all of Dr. Morse's new videos are. And International School of the Healing Arts.com for the educational courses. I'm personally certified as a detox specialist through the International School of Regenerative Detoxification. So I've learned from Dr. Morse a lot. I think what some people might want to know, Dr. Morse, is you're not just an expert or a nerd or someone who's just learned all this stuff. You actually, when you were young, you went through some health issues. And when you were 20 years old and you started to discover this, you were actually suffering. And can you describe some of the...
Not too bad, though. Be honest with you, I'm an old farm boy, and all we knew was work, work, work. So you hid all your things. So I really had chronic sinus because of the milk. We all drink milk as farmers. And then, of course, you couldn't move your bowels. I didn't have any real, serious issues in any way, shape, or form that would put me down. I just, everything just made common sense to me. As an old farm boy, and we're all meat eaters and milk drinkers and all that, we can't breathe. We got to use nose drops. We can't poop because we're so constipated and all these things like that. And then I was fighting obesity from all of that, And then I'm reading a book on raw foods that says, why does man cook his food? No animal cooks their food before they eat it. Why do you? And I'm going, well, that makes sense. I don't know. Why do I cook my food? I don't know, and it just starts leading you down a path of Zen, so to speak, where you're learning things that you never thought about before, but they're smack dab in the center of truth. And it just wakes you up a little here, a little there. And that's the beauty of it. It's like an exploration of the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. What are you looking for anyway? That's old saying that Ponce de Leon was looking for the fountain of youth and his horse was eating on it all the while. See, and that's the whole thing is your fountain of youth is what you're putting into your body chemically. You can't get away from chemistry. You've got two sides and either one of them will kick your butt. And one is different than the other side. One will rip you apart and the other one will hug you and kiss you.
So I guess at this point, when you're 20 years old, you're overweight, sinus pressure, constipation. So you're having some issues, but you're not like having terrible issues, but you start to see the light and you go towards it and you walk through that door. But aren't there a lot of people now that how come more people don't do that? Because
I don't know. The real trigger for me was what's called the alone state. In other words, I had to know what was behind the most alone. So I would go into the woods, deep in the woods. I lived out in my Volkswagen van just eating oranges. I was trying to find the deepest alone state because there's an old saying in the higher masters, and that is that alone exists. So when you start stripping away your outer bodies, your physical body, your astral or emotional body, you start starting to see everything as coming from the same source. You're losing your most gross separations or distances from things, and you're starting to see, wait a minute, everything is coming from the same source. And then the higher part of the mental world is cosmic consciousness. And that's where you see everything as the same. Everything is one. And the nirvana from that, you can't even describe it. It's ecstasy beyond your wildest dreams, but it isn't the consciousness yet. It's right there at that doorway. You're still an individualized being. When you lose that id, the individualized self, I can't even describe to you because that's infinite. There's no plus, minus, hot, cold, up, down. It's infinite. There's no point of identification for yourself. It's not, I'm here. No, you become everything. I mean, it's just, you can't describe it. It's unbelievable.
That's the higher echelon as opposed to the middle echelon you were referring to?
Yeah, I mean, these are all levels that you can get into, but you have to, it just depends what the person's goal is in life. Mine was to find out who is behind all things. I had to know who the word God was. That was my driving force. Who is this you're talking about? You say all these things in church and you say all these things, but who is it? Who is my higher self? I had to find out. I had to go through that doorway of the alone state. And so, that's what I teach people. Find time to spend alone with yourself. There's too much chaos in the outer worlds. Go within.
Hmm. Do you, Dr. Morse, do you think that you could have had this transformation experience if you had not gone off into the woods for 6 months in that experience?
Well, all things are meant to be.
Yes, because here's why I asked this, because I think a lot of people, they want to have that experience, but they feel the pressures of all their obligations and the financial pressure and blah blah blah. And so, but can they still have a metamorphosis without having that monk-like experience in the
Well,
woods?
I've always said this about monasteries and some of the monks. You can go in a monastery, have your feet rubbed, have your rice meals, and sit there and not and go within, and everything is cool. Take yourself and put yourself in the middle of New York City, and let's see you do the same thing. In other words, the whole thing is, can you be in the moment in consciousness, but at the same time run your bodies, which is your mind, your emotions, and your physical body? Can you run your forms, but at the same time remain conscious? And that's what the gig is, because then when you lose the physical form, you're free. You then have worked yourself into these higher worlds instead of continually creating karma and bouncing back between each other. And that's what man's doing basically. And it's just you have to realize that every action causes an opposite and equal reaction. But to answer your thing about those people, Buddha, I mean, you can do the Buddha thing. You can go sit under a tree for 17 years and then finally go, well, you know what? I don't give a shit anymore. I'm out of here. And, it takes you not to care anymore. So your daily experiences could rip the hell out of your relationship, could rip you apart. Sometimes to get to these higher levels of experiences, you go through a little ripping. And that ripping is simply you holding on to things and identifying with the limited instead of identifying with the unlimited.
Okay, I want to ask you about that because I've learned from you over the years about having a sort of a healthy detachment, but also I want to ask you about desire because I've heard you talk about how in other people that we can get trapped by desires and become a prisoner to desire. At the same time, take someone who has a real bad health problem. It's not just them wanting to get healthy. They have to want it badly. They have to really want it for it to happen. So desire is our friend, but what should our relationship with desire be? I mean, how should we navigate that?
Well, we could exchange desire with pain because pain is a driving force for a lot of people that can't get that discipline up. Pain will drive you into areas of letting go. It's funny, suffering sometimes makes you just let it all go. And that's how you win the day, is you just let it all go. And as soon as you let it all go, you have it all. And it's hard to explain that because you have to realize there's nowhere you can go to hide from yourself. You can't get out of body. You can't hide yourself. You can't bury yourself. You can't go anywhere you're not. So these people that try to hide from that, you can't do that. It's better to get with the self. So spend time alone, hug yourself, and see what your goals are. Are you just a physical being that wants to have a nice car, a nice house, and kids, and all that kind of stuff? Or on the top of that, do you want to play those roles, but do you really want to know what the ultimate experience is? There's not a lot of people at any given time that want the ultimate God experience. And that's true in any place I've traveled, any realm, any planet, there's always those few.
What percentage of of beings on Earth do you think are interested in that?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I was hoping 30 to 40, but I'm sure that that's not the percentage that's left. So I'm not sure with that. All I can tell you is that at a certain point, they showed me that me, along with everywhere I looked on each side of me, were beings coming with me down into these lower worlds. And that's all I can tell you, because I've been through lifetimes to get to this point to help you guys.
And when you say lifetimes, what you mean is that this life is not just a standalone event. It's part.
Hell no. It's funny though that you said that, because that kind of thinking is so old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would hope that in some way the maturation of the human being would be above that by now, realizing that this isn't the only rock, this isn't the only place, this is just a body you have, and sometimes you have to be smacked out of your body, but in reality.
So you've always been a spiritual seeker, and then there was a time when you really got interested in teaching others about spirituality. And I remember hearing you say that you learned that the health transformation is the back door into spirituality. Can you, because that was my experience. I was always interested in spirituality, but I was basically an aesthetic, physical person and interested in the physical realm. And then once I started transforming my health, it was just it was like downloads and just amazing stuff. So can you
opened your doors, man? You opened your doors, and then everything started coming in, and that's the fun of it. Well, I've been working with the Eck Masters for a long time. And this whole thing of what I'm doing here is you're seeing it. You're seeing what I'm teaching, but what you said, I've been teaching people how to have out-of-body experiences in classes and all around, throughout Texas, throughout Indiana, throughout Florida. I teach everywhere I go. That's just who I am, right? So I started realizing that there's a doorway. There's a certain doorway you hit when you teach out-of-body traveling. A lot of people think you're weird. Christians go, holy crap, he's of the devil. You got all these kind of thinkers like this, not realizing that truth is knocking on their door. So I realized that the best way to help a person to wake up is through their health. But just like with you, as you started introducing fruit into your diet, it started turning on your crown chakra. It started turning on your inner body, your higher self. And that then brought you into opening doors all over the place. And that's just kind of what fruit does. It opens up the crown chakra, the CNS, the central nervous system, but also the ANS, that's going back to fructose, bringing that energy all the way down to chemistry. But realizing that chemistry is simply a reflection of consciousness. There's nothing dead. There's nothing that everything comes out of consciousness, no matter what form you see it in.
Well, man, I got a lot more than I bargained for when I started going down the fruit rabbit hole. It was amazing. And so you've personally coached and helped tens of thousands.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, what is, after seeing that many people, what are a couple of the biggest patterns that you see over and over again that people struggle with to really, to really heal themselves, or these obstacles that people hit?
Desire and unconsciousness. And there's no judgment, because every individual is on their own path of awakening, but their own path of learning and experiencing. I've talked to souls, and I'll just use that word to help people understand an individual's consciousness. So I've talked to souls that have just got here, and their souls waiting to get into these lower levels. I don't know why, but there is. And it's just the way it is. And these younger, newer souls into this area, you're not. I talked to one particularly, and he says, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to have fun. She became a whore. She became all kinds of things, and I couldn't get to her. She just she said, I'm here to play, and I'm going to go through all these different experiences. And I said, have fun, because there's nothing you can do with that, and you got to have those different levels to have such an existence. Or you get into this concept of Atlantis and Lemuria, where everybody walks around with peace. Duality rarely dictates 100% peace.
Okay, not on this planet, right? Maybe in some other places.
We're on a warring planet right now. This has always been known as a warring planet, and so we're about to see even more of it. So this is a warring planet, and all of us are here to help raise the consciousness so that those souls in their next lifetimes and stuff can work themselves out of this. Some of the things you're doing with people are not going to be recognized in this lifetime, but they're listening to you because you're not talking to the physical being. You realize when you guys are talking to someone, you're not talking to the physical being. You're talking to the consciousness that's running the physical being. And you want to always remember that you're talking to the soul. Talk to the unlimited part of that being. Don't talk to the limited self. You're talking to a physical body. You want to talk to the awareness of that being.
So when you're talking to a being and they're taking in the information, but they're not on that wavelength right then. They're not going to go with it. So you're saying that their unit is basically absorbing that information and it's storing it, and that
sure, absolutely, on all levels, by the way.
Yeah.
And so maybe I'll give you an example. I have patients that needed a gallbladder, excuse me, a gallbladder rebuilt. 5 years later, he comes in and says, "Yeah, I need to get on your program again. I'm not feeling good." And I said, "What about that gallbladder?" He said, "Yeah, they took it out." So it's just that sort of thing, it's just, but it doesn't matter. It's just a physical form, but at the same time, it does matter. So all of the suffering, all the things that we go through is the paddle it's hitting our heinies. Wake up. But if you don't, that's up to you. You're the sole operator of your journey, and you're the sole controller of this. You can put yourself anywhere you want.
So if we're on this warring planet, you have to wonder why are we here? What is the point of life? What do we do? I mean, is it a practical joke, that we were put here, or why are we here? What's the point of all this?
I asked that question all my life, but when I was taken into pure consciousness, I realized, for the experience of it, when if you can get yourselves into consciousness, that is in the present moment. Mushroom high, LSD high, those sort of highs are similar to a now moment. So if you can get in the present moment, there's no rules, there's no guidelines, there's no nothing. You don't have any forms. It is just pure awareness there. And so for me, I think, just my own opinion, because so massive. I think it's just for the act of it. What's in myself is consciousness. All this comes out of the one, and it's probably just manifesting just to see what's in itself. Who knows? Just for the experience, because nothing. Take anything serious, and that's a problem for yourself. That's why Buddha spent 17 years or whatever under a tree and goes, I'm done with this. I finally realized I don't care, and that's where you had to get. Jesus said the same thing. They all said it. Don't care. And as soon as you let go of what you said earlier, desire, you're working for the improvement and betterment of things. Your desire. I remember David Carradine in Kung Fu, and his master was training him, and he said, talking about desire. And the little man said, "So you don't have any desires, master?" And the master goes, "I only have one. And that's to be in this particular place, at this particular time, at this particular year. I was told I needed to be there, and I have a desire to be there." And the little Cain says, "Well, that's not much of a desire." And the master looked at him and says, "But it's a desire nonetheless." So it's just that sort of thing. Not that everything's, you're going to get smacked if you do this and that. No. It's your journey. And when you realize what's limiting your experience, you try to limit that, that experience. In other words, when you don't care, you will get more.
Okay, but how does someone, if someone is suffering, or let's say they don't feel good, they don't feel healthy, they want to get, a lot of people that listen to this, they want to feel better, they want to have more energy. How do they do it without desire? How do they overcome?
That's where you have to shift into consciousness. But you know what? I don't know how you can motivate without some. I just have to. I can't explain it. It's like your guidance doesn't come anymore from your desires. It
Okay.
comes from your what you know you have to do to.
Oh,
I don't even know how
okay.
to explain it.
So it's kind of like the difference between pushing and being pulled.
Yeah, kind of. Like I live in the moment, so whatever happens in that moment, you need me over there, okay. Or you need me there, you need me to do this, you need me to okay. Or if I get messages that I got to do something, well, yeah, I get it, okay. And then I'll do it. My main goal is not to be in the physical form and have the physical things. Who gives a hoot? You want my car here, take it. I don't care. I've got a truck here, take it. I don't care because
Okay.
I want freedom more than I want anything. Your freedom is the keystone, like Perel, freedom. You've got to have that freedom or you're chained. And after a while, the chains start getting heavier on you. When you're a new soul, nah. But as you become here and spin long enough, the chains of desire choke you, and you have to let go, let go, let go. Your relationship. There's the astral part of this too. And I don't know if you experience that in detox, but you got the emotional detox.
Yes.
That's your astral, that's your adrenal glands. They've got to come clean. So here comes all your emotions coming out. And then you got to just let them go, let them go, let them go. And then what about the mind? Because you have that journey to go through. So you're watching yourself in your bodies release physical toxins, emotional toxins, mental toxins. And now you're opening up the door of your awareness. And that's what you experienced.
100%. And it's more than you bargained for, a lot. When you want to get healthy, yeah, absolutely. How does somebody know if they're an old soul or if they're a new soul?
Well, if you're listening to us and you find what we're saying is interesting, you're probably an older soul.
Okay.
A newer soul has no desire to do anything other than play.
Okay.
They're lost in desire. They're lost in the experiences of this world, and that's where their attention is. I mean, you could zen them and slap them, but why? That doesn't do any good because they're on their own journey, and it's not up to you anyway. You're there, just there, just like Jesus and Buddha and all that. Just depart wisdom of be detached, guys. Your attachment's choking you. Stuff like that. Just down to earth kind of stuff.
Okay. Going back to the warring planet, if we look around, if someone is looking around at this planet that we're on, maybe they feel insecure, or they feel fear, or they feel like there's a lot of dangers and stresses and pressures. How does somebody navigate the world that we're on? And how should they kind of have an attitude about it? Because it does look kind of, you look around and there are some gnarly things happening.
Oh, so bad it's not even funny. It's you know what? The biggest thing I can tell you is fear. And that's why I say getting alone and getting into the self. Your power is yourself. Your power isn't your physical body. Your power isn't your emotions. I mean, it's a certain power, but it isn't your power. Your power isn't your mind. There's always a being that has a better mind or has the ability to control you, like the Greys. If you're not careful with the Greys, they'll get you. So you got to be careful with the visitors called the Greys. So you just have to be careful. But being conscious, nothing can hurt you. Nothing can get behind consciousness. And you have powers that will come out of you that you're unaware of when you're at those levels. I can only tell you that, but they'll come out of you, and beings recognize that. And so they'll stand back. But if you think you're going to out mentally do another being or something like that, outpower them, you might as well forget that. You got beings now coming to this planet that.
So take me through that again. So in other words, there's some beings that we can't necessarily mentally outmaneuver, but where do we have where can we have that edge that
Pull
you
into the now. Pull into the now and open yourself up to pure consciousness. That's all the power of all. Comes right at you. If you have a spiritual guide, they'll flow through that power, and that'll take care of that situation. But if you think you're going to mentally, try to get them or something like that, you have to be careful.
Okay. I've heard you talk before. I know that there's some people that feel like they're under, that they're getting negative energies that are being cast on them. I heard you once talk about if that's happening, to surround yourself with a protective white light or something like that. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, if you feel like now I'll give you a classic example. There was my wife was having an argument with this gentleman, which was me and him owned this herb company together. And they were arguing about spirituality. And the next thing I know, this big reptilian come up out of him. Well, I'm sitting there. There's a whole bunch of people over here talking to one of my cancer patients. My wife is talking to this guy. This reptilian head comes out of him, and she saw this, and she wrapped herself in with the golden light of spirit or Ek or God or whatever. And the being looked over at me, and I'm just about ready to get up, and it turned back and went back into him. And that's the first time I've ever seen a reptilian and what they are. So I talked about it, and people gave me a lot of hell about it. And then I had a couple of patients in, and I said, no, I was just talking about it. I said, no, we follow them. So there is a lot going on. There's Venusian societies people don't know about. There's so much going on at this level, but there's all these thin levels, just like a TV set. You're going to dial in this channel, that channel. Well, let me tell you, on some of these frequencies, you've got loaded beings, man. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
So, okay, so it's not a white light, it's a golden light.
A golden light.
Okay, and so
if you surround yourself with a golden white light, I don't care what you call it, know you're protected, pull yourself into the now. And if you have a spiritual guide, use them. But develop your own power, and you got it. And that is when being conscious. When you're playing in creation, there's always more powerful beings. Let me tell you, there's so many beings. I mean, just look in this physical world. There was this astronomer, and she picked up a handful of sand on a beach, and this was on Nova, and she's pouring the sand out, and she says, for every grain of sand on this planet, and my mind is going, my God, how many grains of sand just in Florida? Right? Grains of sand. There's billions of planets. So I have on one of my YouTube videos, I have this picture that comes up. It looks like a sky full of stars, but it's a sky full of galaxies. And these galaxies some have hundreds of planets per galaxy. And I've been following the Hubble people because we've had some NASA people at our seminars. We got some people at NASA wanting to get healthy too, believe it or not. So we have this one lady in particular worked on Hubble, and we saw this 3 galaxies, holy crap, chasing each other or following each other. I mean, major galaxies. The Hubble pictured this, and it was like, holy crap. We are just one little rock spinning through space, and there's beings and entities everywhere. And that's just the physical world. What about the astral, which is much bigger? The mental worlds are far bigger than that. I mean, we're just this little speck somewhere, and we think we're so cool. It's like, oh, really?
So do you think, have we been misled, or is there information that's suppressed about extraterrestrial beings?
Hell yeah. Look at the Pentagon. It says there's no such thing. You lying piece of. Oh no! Come on, they've not only landed.
Are they on? They're on Earth. You think?
Oh, I did a radio show way back with a Native American, and I've done a lot of radio shows. And my own show, and we were interviewing on Mount Washington a gentleman that not only has pictures but communications, and he has books out. And Deepak Chopra's been up there. All kinds of people have been up there, and they land all the time. I've always said, anybody comes from Washington State or up in that area, I always say, how's the view? Because you see them all the time. You see them in Texas all the time. I saw a mothership in Texas one time. I thought it was stars, but the stars were moving. Big mothership. It's like, holy crap, man. So, I mean, they've been They've been here a long, long time. My wife, one was right above my wife in her car once, out in your place, Corpus Christi, just outside of Corpus Christi. I mean, that had to be back in the 60s.
So come to Texas Fruit Festival, you might see some aliens there. Um, so how does somebody get a spiritual guide if they don't have one? Because you referenced that earlier.
That's a good question, because I went to the Eckmaster since I was reading the books on that Paul Twitchell had written, and I wasn't thinking much about it until he started coming to me and pulled me out of my body, and I'm going, oh, these are real. Because I'd studied every religion on the planet, Zoroastrianism, Buddhism. I mean, when I'm living out in the woods, you're nothing to do. So I read libraries. And so I looked at all the philosophies, Alan Watts at the time, a young guy, and looking and reading all of these people like that, and also looking at religions and seeing where I could find any thread of truth, or, because, we're all one. So what's that thread of truth, And so I'm looking at it and looking at all the different religions. And so they just started coming to me, taking me out, and like, holy crap, that was a journey I can't even tell you. I've been to places that your whole beingness would be riddled with fear, beyond your wildest dreams. Prisons, they told me, in the astral world, and they threw me in one, and I can't even tell you that what goes on. Your being is screaming. Your beingness is screaming in pain and suffering. And it's how the karma is corrected in some ways. So I get, and yet I've seen the most beautiful things you've ever could see. So get above duality, and that's where it's safest.
So, if I don't, first of all, who are the Eckmasters, or?
Okay, so anybody want to ask for a Pedar Zask or Paul Twitchell? He's still active. Fubbi Quantz is the gentleman. I don't want to lay that on him, but Fubbi Quantz is probably the most powerful Eckmaster I know. And I would be giving a lecture to 100 people, and he'd pop right here and start talking to me. I'd have to keep with the lecture. I would see him and hear him, but he was trying to get me to be in the now and lecture properly. In other words, you go and talk whatever the people want to hear. You let that flow, and we'll work through that. You don't tell them what you want to hear. You listen to what they want to hear. And he taught me that. But, and then another big one from him, and he said to me one day, he said, you know what? If you stop thinking and stop talking, there's nothing you won't know. And I go, I get it.
So can someone today, seek out these individuals?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Go within. Go sit yourself in meditation and ask for a Eckmaster or your spiritual guide. Make yourselves known. You're available. You now want to put your attention there. That's within yourself.
So you can do it. You don't have to get the yellow pages and
No, you don't have to dial 911 or anything like that. No, and they're probably already watching you anyway, man. That's all I got to tell you, especially our group.
Okay, so I'm with you. So if I stop thinking and stop talking, and if I say, tonight, let's say I'm sitting in my chair, I'm going to say, what should I say?
So you got to get rid of the words if, but, maybe, all those kind of words, because everything is outside. So anything that pulls you outside of the infinite, you want to let that to the side a little bit. And so you want to spend time just opening all your doors, but to a master, because some people are doing that, are pulling, beings to them that are not.
Right. So how do you filter out those? How do you filter out those ones?
That's a good question. All I can tell you is you have to become more conscious, because there's a lot of entities that can attach themselves to you and you don't even know it. It's amazing. Where I was buying my oranges, it was an old Southern Baptist, old man. He showed me where this spaceship came in, picked him up, took him for a ride, and he's talking about this entity he had on his property. And he said, I have my camera right here in his third eye, and I'm listening to him. He's an old Southern Baptist man talking like this, and I'm going, what? And I'm an out-of-body traveler. I'm going, this guy can't be an out-of-body traveler. This is an old Southern Baptist guy, right? So there I learned a lesson, right? So he's talking about this entity. Finally, when kids would come to steal oranges or something, this entity would send him a picture and he'd get up and go out and take care of the kids. He said one day this guy came, this being seemed to like him and left with him. So there's things going on all levels, everywhere you wouldn't even imagine. So I think the big thing is kicking back from desire, kicking back and just watch. Just watch what's going on, but also listen, because you have the inner music, the inner voices, the inner, too much outwardly pulls you into the physical world too much. And then you start thinking everything is physical, everything is out there. How can I find God? Let's take a spaceship. Sorry, wrong dimension.
It's interdimensional.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about something that has no limits, nothing to bind it, what do you call it? You can't call it God because that's a limited being. You can't. What do you call it? So that's why I think the Eastern adapted consciousness, in quantum physics, we use the word intelligence to mean the same thing. So that sort of thing. What kind of words can define something is undefinable, something that's infinite? You can't. Any word will define it, and that's where your problem comes in, is defining. This is creation, and that's what creation works on, is definitions, the mind, programming, memory, energy from the emotions to drive thought, things like that. But when you let all of that to the outside, what exists? And that is you, and you're driving this whole big machine of yours. And that's the fun part of learning about that.
Wow. Let me ask you about something I think very, very practical for people, which is, and the spirituality is as well. But in terms of relationships, and like for myself, I'm 35 now, so I'm starting to get long in the tooth, and but I'd like to find a partner and a mate and start a family, and so it's important for. I don't need the person to eat just like I do and all that, but at the same time, I think in the way that the children, if we have children, I want to give the children good health and I want to raise them naturally and stuff. So how do we navigate that? How do we and kind of deal with other people and being able to navigate that world?
I think that's an extremely important question, to be honest with you. And I can really talk about it because I was thinking the same thing you were. I was wanting to find, because I've had the master send me a being once. I went through a bad tear up in a relationship, and they sent me someone from a monastery up in the mountains, and I can't even tell you the experience. I was so buzzed. We couldn't even almost have sexual relationships because we were too buzzed. It was amazing. We were way up here. So then I ended up, in a long story, marrying someone that was totally not. Because like you said, I don't want to make judgment. I don't, I want someone that I really like. Well, it's been a hell of a road. I've been with this person 43 years, married, divorced 3 times, twice. It's a hell of a road. There is some like-mindedness in diet, a little, but not much. There is spirituality is good, but finding a like-minded person is a nirvanic and fun to share very like-mindedness stuff. I haven't been not judging myself in doing that, but it's been rough.
Okay.
We haven't had any kids together, but she had a child, and then I had one from earlier. So I have a son 55 and another son 45. So I had to go through all of that. And so that's difficult too, raising children and diets. And, she's from Texas. And so
Barbecue and
Mexican food. Yeah, their family has won prizes of barbecuing things. This barbecue network or whatever it is, they've won awards making barbecue stuff. And then Mexican food, and all that. They got to have that homemade stuff. Well, that's all cheese and white flours and dead animals. And I mean, there's just nothing healthy there.
oh man, all the acrylamides from
Oh,
the grill and
but I can't judge. I'm on this journey, and when I'm done, I'm 74. So it's like I'm going to get all you guys rocked up, turned on, and I'm out of here. And you keep on rocking.
oh my God. But how do you have an idea of how long you want to go for, or is it out of you just kind of say doesn't matter?
Yeah, I do. I would like to stay until the 80s, but I don't know what the plan is.
Yeah, you look good. You look very,
Thanks. I feel good. I'm up at 5:36 every morning. I don't go to bed till about 1 or 2, so I only have a few hours every night sleep. But I'm in massive amounts of work. We just created a whole new herb company with brand new herbs, handcrafted. It's handcrafted.health. If you want to look at our site, I've divided the body into systems, and I'm doing a video for each system. Matter of fact, after this, I'm going to do a video on the endocrinology of the body. And so it's going to be fun stuff, fun learning stuff. I'm going to take the school and expand it, and we're working on that. I mean, we got these video books. I got Pat, who's an A&P professor. She was supposed to be here on August 5th to film, and the hurricane hit us that day. So we're back to December to film the book on fruits, berries, and melons are the natural food of man. Humans are frugivores. And then we've got another book coming out it's a textbook on the lymphatic system. Should really be an eye-opener for you. And then our third book is on the difference between allopathy and naturopathy. And that'll be a hell of a book. She went to medical school. I went to naturopathic school. Now she's a naturopath. She worked for me for a year as an A&P professor. She has 25 years teaching medical doctors anatomy and physiology and biochemistry. And she knows the truth now. And so it's fun putting books together like that. This should be very informative for you guys to really tear into that and, give you some, because especially the frugivore book, it's becoming so much more detailed than I even imagined. We're right into the secretions of the body and the difference between the homo sapien and the carnivore secretions and omnivores. We're like tearing this whole thing apart to show you. And we've got 20 million years of anthropology behind us. It's exciting. Just to show you that fruit is the natural food of man. And whether you eat it or not, that's up to you.
right.
But understand that fruit is your savior. And you can eat the cheese, you can eat the pasta, you can eat all that crap if you want them, but you're going to pay a price.
I mean, a lot of us get it from an intuitive standpoint, and we just feel that this is the appropriate thing to eat. But you're going after it and documenting XYZ scientifically, breaking it down logically and everything else.
Oh, yeah, everything. You read it's going to be a video book first, but you go with this book, there's no way you can deny it. Now, you can say, well, man can't. It's hard to get there because we even have a chapter on why man can't be a fruitarian right now. Because it gets into what we've been talking about, your emotional components, your mental components, your lack of spiritual growth, things like that keep you from that understanding. Because once you start on fruit, everything is electrical. Like I said, you turn on your crown chakra, you turn on your CNS, everything starts turning on, everything starts hydrating, your kidneys start filtering, all the inflammation comes out, the tumors come out, and you're getting a buzz like nobody's business.
It's true. And oh my God. So that new website is called handcrafted.health.
Yep.
Okay. And you can find Dr. Morse's videos. Okay. So Morse.tv.
Morse.tv. And then, of course, you got the school, like you said. But if you go to handcrafted.health, you'll see we're on everywhere except YouTube.
I know. Oh man, sorry YouTube. Sorry.
Man.
Handcrafted.health and International School of the Healing Arts.com. So what about somebody who is already in a relationship? So a lot of the people that I talk to that are trying to solve a health issue, they're they're in it, but they're telling me my partner, a
Yeah.
lot of my challenges, my partner's on a different path. How does somebody navigate that?
You see, and that's what I was talking about. It's a little bit of a pull. You have to be strong character and determined within yourself to do what you want to do in your relationship. And that's the problem with relationships. The problem with relationships is that you surrender yourself a lot to the other person. You absorb. When you look at how the all experiences things, consciousness experiences something by becoming it. The mind experiences something by rationalization, comparison, things like that.
Hmm.
The astral understands things by the emotional components of it, but consciousness understands the totality of it. And that's why you always pull yourself back to that, because
Okay. Is that kind of like really empathizing with someone? Is having
it
a
is.
high consciousness?
No, it's like letting them be on their own journey and their own thing. Relationships in the old days, you used to have one checking account, one car, one everything. And then when the woman got beat up by the husband too much, she couldn't go anywhere. I mean, there's so many levels to these things in relationships. I've worked with mental health clinics where husbands would beat the wives we'd put them in a house, and then she'd end up going back. And just all kinds of things like this. I'm for the power of the woman. I'm for woman warriors because the female is the love principle, and women, you don't, and same with men, become whole within yourself, enjoy another being for what they are. Don't become the other being. And that's the problem with soul becomes things. If you're in a relationship too long, it merges and becomes one. Excuse me. And if you look at it, those that are in relationships don't take care of themselves like those that are single. So you have to be you have to keep claim of your individuality within a relationship, and it makes for a better relationship. You're just
Okay,
there to love on each other anyway.
that's right. After you get your spouse, don't let yourself go. You heard it from Dr. Robert Moore.
Right.
You
Don't
know,
let yourself go. Hold on to yourself. And same with the female. Females are they give themselves a lot. They give themselves and almost too much. So
okay.
they have to also pull back and realize, they're the beauty, the love of the current. Males are the acids. They're the ones that, they're here. They're going to make, but you have to have both sides of chemistry to make life work. Without an acid, a woman has vaginal dryness. Without an acid, you don't have things work in your body well. So there's all kinds of things that require minor acids.
Okay. I want to ask you about chemistry because um, basically a lot, if you follow Dr. Robert Morse, basically you're going to learn about the lymphatic system, the kidneys, and basically, but I want to ask you about the probiotic factor or the helpful bacteria in the body, because these are basically doing the kidneys a favor, right? Because they're further breaking down the acids into more basic chemistry, making it easier to filter out. And so, do you agree with that, or what do you see as the big role?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you took a look at the microbial kingdom, absolutely. I mean, that's what their job is to break down. In the body, the lymph nodes is where the bacteria needs to be. And of course, you're always going to have
Yes.
microbial involvement along the gut wall because that's where you burn and break down your foods, right? So you're always going to have, depending what foods you're burning, depends what type of microbes you're going to have in your gut tissues, right? If you're bitching about E. coli, quit eating dead animals, that sort of thing. You're the one setting up the terrain for this, right? But in every lymph node, you have to have bacteria. And just what you said, you hit it right on the head. Their job is to break down acids because an acid that's coming out of metabolism is about 3 pH. Like if I'm doing this, I'm creating lactic acid. What's the pH of lactic acid? And then you get into the Coca-Cola pHs, which is 3, 2.9, 3.1. That's enough to destroy a cell, right? So
Okay.
when you get to hydrochloric acid, you're down to about 1.5. And I mean, even, I just enough to say this, everything's a theory. Even in chemistry, if you look up hydrochloric acid, you'll find some chemists say hydrochloric acid has a pH of 0, others 2. I was taught 1.8, 1.5, and we laugh about it because even when you look it up on the internet, everybody's got a different take on the pHs of just hydrochloric acid. So, and then you have this bizarre idea that man has the most acidic stomach of all the vertebrae, and that's another bald-faced lie. The hydrochloric acid is hydrochloric acid. You can't get hotter than that. Even if you compound it, you can't, pHs are pHs. So that there's just so much lies out there that, hopefully that the energy and the need to be healthy is the driving force for humans to take this on.
Okay. So then should we do anything special to get more of this in the lymph nodes, beneficial bacteria, or
wallow out in the woods? The old farm boys play with the dirt. I've got gardens. I'm always dirty and everything. I don't fear microbials or bacteria and stuff. You got a sewer system in your body, and if it's backed up, you might enjoy a little bit of a feasting, party on you, but they're not there to attack cells, and that's what medical doctors don't realize. They're there to clean the train. That's their job. They're nature's little cleaners.
Okay.
Flies and maggots.
Got it. And should we eat fermented or cultured foods? Because I whenever I eat those, it doesn't go down well.
You know what? I brought Dr. Jensen a big plat of ripe strawberries. They were right there. They were ripe. They were, oh my God. So I brought him a big plat of them. And he said, "Thank you so much, Doc." He said, "I'm going to put them out on my porch and let them ferment." And I'm going, "What? Is that why you're farting all the time and all these things like that?" Yes. I mean, his bowel was black and he wrote the book on bowel. I've got his endoscopy and colonoscopy right here until he went on the herbs. So, why would you eat your food on its way out? When food starts fermenting, guys, it's dying. That's right. When you got the fungus, and you bitch about fungus in your body and you eat fungal food, which is going to be your fermented foods. That's who ferments, is the fungus community, the microbial community. So you've got this this bizarre idea to have fermented foods, and it's like, really? I don't, why? What nutrition are you going to get out of them? And it starts to lose its consciousness. And you're there to eat that food, not just for the nutrition of it. You're there to eat it for its consciousness. What is that food going to do to my cells of my body? And they're specific. Each chemistry, as you see the cribs and as you see all these cycles going through and all the spinoffs, these are electrical spinoffs as well. And that electricity is feeding, because bottom line, energy is all that the body needs, and it'll spit out the chemical skeleton of the rest of it.
Okay, so it's and when you have someone who has a serious health issue, you're in an energy war, basically, that they're losing, right? But that's where the ripe fruit is going to be the most energy that they could input. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's like you're sitting there, you have no energy, your brain fog. You got to turn things on, man, and start getting the chemistry out that's suppressing that. And that's the only way to do that, is bring in hydration, because you have two sides. The electrical side is a hydrating side. We call it the base or output. The acid side is the dehydrating side. Well, that side is dealt with the lymph. Blood can't deal with acid. Sorry, even the capillaries won't reabsorb protein. So when you really look at how the body's designed, you realize, oh, wow, yeah. The proteins are shifted off to the lymph system interstitially. Well, that's where the lipids are. That's the system that helps to deal with the acid damage to cells, because without the lymph system and lipids, you couldn't exist.
Okay. I want to ask you about modern tools for modern problems, because you look at the human body now and some of the things that get lodged inside of it, some of the pharmaceutical products and different things that people have in their bodies that create these obstructions. It's I know that you use powerful herbal formulas that can affect the body in a way that just the fruits can't. What about, for example, I've seen a lot of enzymes being used. What do you think? Is there a downside of that, or a potential risk, or what's your view on enzymes? Because I'm seeing a lot of people taking enzymes and so forth.
like I said, I've been a naturopath 50 years, and I've lived through, my God, everything. I've lived through supplements. I used to have vitamins and minerals in my name. I've lived through everything, but I've always been fruitarian thinking. Yet when I opened up my first health food store in, I think, 1971, and I'm starting to eat out of it. Oh, this is good. These nuts are good. They're natural. They're raw. Oh, look, raw milk yogurt. I got raw goat's milk. That's all good. And I started getting my mucus back. I started feeling bad again. I'm going, what? These are all healthy foods. Tiger's Milk Bar, health bars, and all. No, not at all. And now most health food stores are candy places. And it's like, really? No. And so that you have to grow out of that and learn that there's all this. There's drinking your urine, there's taking turpentine. You go down a long line of treatment, and why it exists is because man doesn't understand the lymphatic system or chemistry. He doesn't understand why he's suffering. He's grabbing at straws to help him, and you don't have to grab to those straws because some of them are toxic as hell to you. I'm military. We don't drink urine in the military. And it's like, these are some of the things you don't add. Particularly if you're filtering. If you get your kidneys filtering, this is all the waste from your cells that you're re-drinking, and they're acids. Tell me where that's healthy. Explain to me where that, and it's not. And it's like, and then there's the turpentine or whatever it is. And then there's, I can go on and on. Beta glucans, 3D, 6D, 9D glucans. You can go on and on and on about all these treatment-based thinking that's individual constituents, enzymes, the digestive enzymes. I've had a saying for years that I learned when I watched all this happen. If you take it, your endocrine glands quit making it. So if you take a steroid, your adrenals just sit back.
Right.
So one of my patients said that to an endocrinologist once. She said, I can't take these steroids. It's making my adrenal. She said, yeah, it shuts them down, but they're just going to sleep. They'll wake up stronger. That's what he told this lady. And it's like, really? Where'd you learn that? That is just kooky stuff. You want those cells in your body to perform. You don't want to give what they need to do to feed them, thinking that that'll make them perform better. No, it doesn't happen that way. What you give the body perceives and will shut down.
Okay.
It doesn't try to overdo it. And the problem with supplements, you can overdo it with calcium, phosphorus. It's all over the place. You take supplements, start reading how many calciums you're taking, phosphorus you're taking, and all this. And it's just a miss. Then you've got utilization factors, which is adrenal mineralocorticosteroids. You've got a whole line of everything else going on in agglomerated bodies. And all you got to do is clean them out, turn the cells back on, and understand that your foods also come from the divine. They're conscious. These herbs are very conscious in what they do. They'll go in and start straightening things out. You're hydrating, which will detox the body. All these neurotoxins, excitotoxins, all these things will come out. The sulfurs are a little hard to come out, and neurotoxins are a little hard to come out, but they will come out.
Okay, I had an iridologist look at my eyes, and they said that I had some sulfur in me. So how do I get it out? I know how to get it out, but anything special that?
Yeah, I've got medical doctors that have sulfur in their eyes, and they've been looking for an antidote, something that will just strip the sulfur out of you. Haven't found it. And I don't know what it would be other than hydration and astringent. So
Yes.
That's why we have the GI boom, or what we've got a new name for our new one coming out and stuff like that. But it's aggressively astringent. So hopefully it's an astringing and pulling on that. But then you get some interstitially in with the lymph system. So you've got to hydrate and move lymphatically. Or what system are you going to use to clean your body? Your lymph system is your cleaning system. That is the system that cleans the cells. Your blood just feeds them. It doesn't have eliminative organs to it. So the blood has to be cleaned. So that's what the spleen's for. So the spleen is a lymphoid organ that cleans your blood. but it's your lymph you got to learn about. And that's where their hiccup is, that they don't understand that it's a sewer system. They don't understand that the skin and the kidneys are the eliminative organs of the lymph system, that there's a lot of lymphoid organs. The gallbladder is a lymphoid organ. The spleen's lymphoid. All your lymph nodes are lymphoids. There's a lot of lymphoid tissues. And, of course, your lipids out of the food you're eating are going to the gallbladder for the lymph system, not for the blood. You don't fill your blood full of lipids. So it's just when you start to see how the body is using things and getting rid of things, and then you start asking yourself, why isn't my body getting rid of things? Then you start looking at the protein diets and all the foods that are inflammatory, the acid ash foods that break down kidney tissue, that break down bowel tissue, and that's what man's living on.
That's true. And even when you start going towards a solution, what does everyone say? You're not getting enough protein. You know, you need to, you know.
That's why the toe. I put that toe on the Morse .tv as a regeneration site there. I just wanted to show people what you can do just on fruit. That's connective tissue rebuilding, bone rebuilding, regular tissue, epithelial tissue rebuilding, nail. I mean, the guy's got a toe. They're going to whack that little skin hanging there right off. And it's like, that's what your body can do at these high levels. But I had him only on fruit and the botanicals. That's it.
And wow, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And folks, just remember, don't drink your own pee. Take it to Dr. Morse, unless you and your partner want to do that in your own house. We're not going to judge you if that's what you're into, but
yeah, drink a big fresh glass of fresh squeezed sweet navel orange juice or peach juice, fresh squeezed grape juice, as opposed to a glass of urine. I mean, and especially if you're filtering, you might as well eat your stool then. You know, you're re-eating your food that you ate before, and the body's just trying to get rid of it, and you want to put it back in. I mean, I just find that some of this stuff just that's no common sense whatsoever to it.
Wow. Okay. I want to do before we wrap up here, I want to do a lightning round with Dr. Robert Morse. So I've got some questions, and you can answer as quick as you want. Yes.
I'm bad about long answers,
which will be interesting. So, okay. Favorite cheat food?
Indian.
That's right. Okay. Do you have a morning routine?
I do. I'm out meditating at 5:30 or 6. Then I have someone that works for me full time because I have a lot of gardens and stuff and weeds and stuff. And so he's there about 8. So I'm opening up the gates and garages and everything about that time. And then I wait till the woman in the other bedroom gets up, and then morning time, hello, and then I'm off to work.
Wow. Is there a specific type of meditation that you do?
You know what? I try to live it, be it in every moment. In other words, I just don't go in and say, I'm going to meditate right now. Really? I am working on being it in every moment and watching my mind, making my mind do what I want it to do, my emotions and things like that. So I'm sitting and always working on the now and listening and seeing what they want me to do. You know, I'm listening to these. You know, there's a lot of beings out there. And if you're working with some beings and you have a special mission that you're on, then that you're tied with that. And I'm tied on this mission that I'm on. And so I have these beings that I work with on that. But they also work with all kinds of, people and stuff. But you've got all kinds of cool beings. You even have Shamus Tabriz out there. You got to be a little quirky for that guy because he was Jalal-ud-Din Rumi's master. And Rumi, sweet man, sweet guy. Shamus Tabriz, yeah, let's do it. And I'm a Shamus Tabriz guy. Come on, man, let's go conquer that world.
Wow. Okay. What? If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, wow! Holy crap! Wow, that's a tough question because I would.
Well, let's say a couple. You can invite a couple.
Most of them are not embodied.
That's okay. That's okay. You can
I
Let's say
don't
you
have anybody
invite
on this. Yeah,
invite a couple. Let's say you can invite a couple people.
we got people in here listening now, and
Wow.
you do too. You know, they come from all over the place, my friend, and they listen when they're not necessarily. I had a out in Sinton, Texas. I had a big talk, and that's mostly Mexican town, mostly Catholic. So I rented a bank room and everything. I put up posters and advertised, and I brought a little crew with me to have a talk about out of body experiences. There was no physical bodies showed up. So the crew says, "Well, let's go." I said, "Oh no, that room is so full of people, I can't breathe in there." And it was. You got to be awake to those things around you.
Hmm. Wow. Well, I'm putting I know later today when I get a moment, I'm gonna open it up and put it out there that, I'm open to some help,
Yes,
because
do that.
I'm gonna
Do that.
say God, don't just look down, help me out.
That's for Paul Twitchell, because you are that which is. See, you're asking that which is you, for help. So you have to ask yourself for it. And that's why you connect to a being that's right near you that can come to you and show you that you're asking yourself for the help that you need. And all you got to do is let go and start putting your attention in other places. Get it away from the limited forms, and you'll blossom just like going on the fruit thing. When you start looking at things by the infinite, that's what you become.
Hmm.
You become what you identify with. So if you sit there and identify you're a little human being and you need this, you don't have this, and you want that, that's what you have. But if you switch your viewpoint and realize you're actually viewing from the heavens into creation, that's who you are. These bodies, you're just playing with them. But our senses are so good that we think this is us. I mean, the senses of the nervous system of the human body is pretty damn good. It keeps you locked right in there. That's why you have to almost shut that down to actually realize that there's other worlds out there,
Hmm.
because this body is sensory locked.
Wow. Wow. It's almost, I'm gonna have to let this soak in and absorb. It's a lot. Okay, real quick, piercings, tattoos. A lot of young people are more than ever are getting them. Do you think that these are causing obstructions in the body? Should people take these out, have them removed,
Do
or
not do tattoos. I can only tell you my patient history with them. And I have one girl, she was very tattooed. All she saw was stars and moons. She went into this, and I couldn't hardly get her out of it. And her parents were freaking, and she just went too much ink. And you got to be careful about the chemistry you play with, because that's your experience in the physical, but it pulls you down into the physical and you lose your spirituality because your body's hurting, you're going through all kinds of things, and that's where your attention is. So it locks you in. All this stuff locks you into these worlds, because you notice that when you're on fruit, you lose body consciousness. You don't feel your body anymore. I don't have a body anymore. I'm up here. Wow. Wow. And the more fruit you have, the less you know you have a physical body. That's when things get really good, because you're just a pair of eyes. And then it becomes everywhere. And if you want, it's just a great journey. And you all have to make it sometime or other. You can't get away from it.
what about the piercings?
I'm not for anything like that. I'm not for
Yeah.
disrupting the human body. But if you want to put it in, I mean, that's up to you. But we were just
Okay.
talking about piercing just before I went on here, and the necrosis that you smell from it and all these things like that. So you just got to be careful, about tissues and stuff, get them healthy. If you want to pierce. I mean, you can play with the body all you want if that's where your attention is.
Okay, okay. What about I'm asking for a friend. What about magic mushrooms? Is there an issue? Is there a neurotoxicity potential? What's
Oh, well, uh, I'll admit I was on LSD or a little window pane, not a lot, but once in a while. And then some girl turned me on to mushrooms, and I go, whoa, and I just got out of the woods. I'm already buzzed. I'm higher than a kite, right? And so I'm buzzed like that. I'm thinking mushrooms. I'll taste it and see what it's like. Oh crap, man! All the answers of the universe started coming in. I could see all the mathematics of everything. I mean, they poured everything into me, and I'm going, holy crap! But that's the goal. If you're going to use a mushroom, is don't get in the mind, don't get into tripping, be in the now, and all the answers will start coming to you. You'll see things you've never seen before because it pulls you, it quiets your bodies down. But my body can't take them. It's too hard on me. It's my cramping and everything from mushrooms. But it gave me the ability. Wait a minute, I can do this naturally. I don't have to take anything. I just have to quit freaking thinking. So I learned how to do it naturally without having to take anything to put me there or here.
Okay. Last couple ones. What do you think? Thank you for that. What about distilled water? Do you have any concerns about it?
I have a whole house RO, and I've got it set to 7 gallons for one, and it just bugs the hell out of me because I'm burning up 7 gallons of water to get one, and we still don't drink it. We don't drink RO water. I feel that a mineralized water, so we buy water out of Italy that's just raw. It's just so good. It's just mineralized. It's just so good. And that's what we do drink. But we wash with RO water. But again, it's economically, it's not good. It's not a good idea to have an RO system because you're burning too much water to get a little bit of, and then you got to add something back in it. We add calcium back in it because it'll strip your pipes. It'll strip all the metal out of your pipes, and then you're not drinking RO water. You're drinking copper in your water or whatever. So, I don't know.
What about inside of the body? What about putting it in the body?
Well, I like a good mountain water that's electrical. I like a good electrical water. You can't hydrate on distilled water. I mean, the fight in chemistry with water. All right. Some say water is neutral. In my chemistry, water has been called the universal solvent. So it's 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen. Yeah, oxygen is a little more bioavailable, but hydrogen is a universal acid. So to me, it's slightly acidic to become the universal solvent. We wash our hands in it. It's stripping. You have to have a little minor acidity to do that because that's where you get into the astringent values, is that little minor acidity. And when you look at 2 atoms of hydrogen, it's going to be a little more acidic, I think, with 1 of oxygen. When you step that up and you start going to 2 oxygens and so forth, then you're getting into your hotter stuff for sure. So I don't know. I just
Okay. And on that note, what about salt? Because I know that there's a sodium potassium ratio in order for nerve function, for cell function. So most people are getting probably too much sodium. But then if we go on this fruit-based journey and raw foods, then are we risking not getting enough sodium, or what do you?
No, I mean, if you're eating the food your body is designed to eat, and they're well raised, you're not missing nothing. I don't know if you felt deficient. I just ate navel oranges. They were all about this big and sweet. They were from another planet. I could eat 15 of them this big. I'd hand cut them and never juiced or nothing, didn't have any power. I lived out in the woods. And so I cut them up and I could have 15 or 20. I could have 4 or 5 settings a day. I could eat the holy crap out of them. And I never felt full. I never felt fat. I felt full of energy. I cut myself. It didn't bleed. It was gone the next day. I'm going, holy crap, Arnold Ehret was right. And I was starting to look at the power of healing. And my body was just correcting itself everywhere. And I'm going, holy crap. To think there's a deficiency or something like that, that's not even in there. Your deficiency is how agglomerated you are, how you're malabsorbed, what types of food you're eating, how's pancreatic ducts and pancreas in terms of enzymes, trypsin, and your bicarbonates, and how's all that. But in reality, when you start on the fruit, it just starts correcting everything like that. It just I learned if you want chemical homeostasis, you have to eat it. You can't play biochem. I'm a biochemist as well. And you can't play biochemistry and expect the body to become homeostatic. It doesn't work that way. Your
Okay.
body eat homeostatically and your body will get there and kick out what it doesn't want. And that's why you eat. You just eat your fruit and don't even think about it. See, we're so involved now. We went down the rabbit hole in our foods and we're trying to climb out of this and we're fighting we want the same food that's brought us down the rabbit hole and we're trying to get out of it, but you got to let that go and come up and enjoy the high level of fruit, berries, and melon. Look at all the berries and how good. Look at all the melons and how good. And then the longer you're on that, then vegetables become very difficult to chew, to break down. Those that have undigested food in their stools always are vegetables. So, it's just we don't grind. So we're actually pretty far away from the herbivore side as opposed to an omnivore.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. So what's your message to, as we wrap up here, to the Texas Fruit Festival?
Texas Fruit Festival! Yeah! I tell you, I love fruit festivals. I love that. I went to a fruit festival down in Miami one time, and they had mostly vegetables. And I go, where's the fruit? I know the fruit, berries, and melons, babies, because those are the high levels. And enjoy those high levels. Sometimes we have to grab something for balance. And I agree. Balance. You're better if you walk with balance than to get too austere and too far out. And then you start drinking your urine and doing things or dry fasting for a month or something like that kills you. No. Be balanced and open your consciousness, like we've been talking about. This has been a spiritual talk more than anything. And that's vital to your survival throughout eternity. Outside of that, you're this little being just kicked and beat up and all this, trying to seek truth and all this stuff, and you are truth.
Thank you, Dr. Morse. Well, and what's your advice to me, personally, for me to help grow this movement, to reach people, to successfully, help save some of the souls in this world that want to solve their health problems and stuff like that?
It's just what you're doing, putting it out there. I don't know what you do for a living, but helping people overcome their problems. I'm going to do another video this afternoon and read this young man's case where, again, they got this student of ours got the tumors out of this kid's one of his kidneys and bladder. They're going to take it out, both bladder and kidneys. I mean, that you can't put words to something like that, because if you ever have your kidneys and bladder ripped out of you by the medical doctor, your world is done. You have a horrible world. And what's a little discipline and an understanding of the lymphatic system to fix your problems and not go through the medical insanity? Because these guys are the top killing machine on the planet. People don't want to hear that. But when you look at the death rate of all the modalities, medical is so far away. Naturopaths, you might find one death a year worldwide. Homeopathy, maybe. Herbology, maybe a death or two is blamed on herbology around the world. 9 billion people. But allopathy, millions in just one country alone, millions of deaths. So you just have to understand people are trying to align to a modality it's on its way out. It's killing people, and people are awakening up to that. So people have to become good naturopaths. You can cure anything yourself. You know how to cure anything yourself. Just help people cure themselves. And that word gets out and it spreads and spreads and spreads, because that's how I did it. I just started curing people.
Thank you. And for that person who is listening to this and they're struggling and they're going through something really challenging, and they're like, I don't know if I have the discipline to do it and to change. And well, what's your message to that person?
All right. My message to that person is let it all go. Find yourself again. Go out in the woods, go find somewhere and start hugging yourself. Find yourself again and go by that. Go by yourself again. Realize yourself. And then, this is my body. I want to take care of it. Start not egotistically, responsibly taking care of yourselves. your bodies. These are just the body you're using. You wash your car. Some people don't. Some people don't even clean it out. But, my cars are always clean and spick and span. I try to keep my inner body clean and spick and span. So it's just that sort of thing. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And last question here. I hope that we'll get to share the next several decades together, and that you'll stick around. You're certainly not slowing down. I will say that.
Hell no, I'm busier than I've ever been.
But where do you see things going right now? We're in a time of great quickening, of great awakening. I mean, the change that's happening is quantum levels faster. And so where do you see things going on this planet, and where do you see things going?
I used to think that it had no hope. I kind of think that there is some for that, but I think that this planet is going to go through some massive changes. I think the human is going to make some massive changes to their genetics. And what you're seeing now is the takeover of the planet from several levels. It's funny. It's all level. I mean, you got those that want to take the planet from not this planet. And then you got those that are on this planet that want to take the planet. These guys are serious people. They're nutcases.
So how do we prepare for that? How do we, survive and thrive and flourish through that?
Good question. Look what's happened over at the UK now. If you put anything on the internet that's any way negative about, or just making your own feelings known, they could come arrest you and throw you in jail. So we're entering times that could be really bad. Keep to yourself, keep free, keep your body healthy, learn the truth as much as you can. Like I said, learn how to have out-of-body experiences or connect with your being, your spiritual guide, and grow. And just try to give love out there and not get involved in this, because this is it's self-destructive machine. We're going through, well, you're in America, and so you see what's happening with the presidential debates and all this crap that's going on, power control here and all this kind of stuff. And it's scary, because if the planet loses America, it'll lose the planet.
So if the planet, or if America or whatever, if we go into this dystopian kind of a control system and it gets a lot worse, do you think, can we create a surviving remnant of humans that are natural and healthy?
Depends who's left. Depends who's left, because
should we still
get nuked pretty bad.
I mean, should we try to do that? Should we try to survive through it, or should we just say, you know what?
I think live in the now. Live in the now. Don't put any attention on it, because any attention feeds it. So you don't put it. You're not going to feed this machine. It's a negative machine. You don't want to feed it. You don't want to put your attention on it. You just live in the now, and you take care of your human body. You help others with truth. Say, why don't you try this out-of-body experience, or why don't you try eating some fruit for a week? Just try it for 3 days, or try it for 1 week. 1 week just eating fruits, berries, and milk. What's it going to hurt? Play with them that way and work yourself down that road. But for you, you're a spiritual guy. You want to know truth. You've got to go within yourself more and pick up a spiritual guide and have them at night take you out, or learn how to have conscious out-of-body travel, which is not difficult. Just put yourself somewhere else and let your body go, and just get yourself going in that way and expand, because most of your journey now is going to be spiritual, I think.
We've been talking with Dr. Robert Morse. Handcrafted.health are where you can find the new formulas. You can find his videos at morse.tv. Prolific videos if you want to learn, educate yourself. And of course, if you want to get certified or formally educated, International School of the Healing Arts.com. We've been talking with the great Dr. Robert Morse. I'm so thrilled. I'm thrilled we got to do this. Final words to the listener from Dr. Morse.
Now, I love all you guys. Keep with the fruit as much as you can. Let things go. Don't let anything get to you. And love your mate. And have some fun, make life fun. If anybody else wants to suffer, let them suffer. But you have fun. And you always got my love, all of you guys.
For more information, please follow at Rapid Regeneration or visit rapidregeneration.com.